In the second part of this morning, we are exploring the issue of interventionism on the global stage and bringing it back home to our lived experience in Nigeria. Now, my guest is still here, Gloria Okolugbo. Mr. Okolugbo, there is a changing world order. We have the U.S. making some interventionist moves, and the UN actually argues that some of these actions are against international laws. In a multilateral world, would it be safe to say that the U.S. appears to be the world police?
In a multilateral world where the United Nations has a Security Council in place, when the UN moves in to capture a president, that's practically a unilateral action. And that
you
is
meant the U.S. Because you said UN.
Hello?
Yes, I said, you said UN, but you meant to say US. I mean, the US invaded Venezuela.
The United Nations has a Security Council in place. And multilateralism is about checking the world order, checking, unilateral actions like this. However, when you have the United States, again, there's a historical background. United States has always had that world police position. And so when the United States takes that kind of unilateral action, moves in and moves a president from Venezuela, that is a major shake and a major shift in the world order. However, you have to look at it in the context of the interests of the United States and the other factors that brought about it. When people talk about sovereignty, you have to also look at the issue of terrorism. That has been the accusation that the United States has given to Venezuela. Venezuela is just across the Florida border, and it's a strategic location. You're not just talking about, moving any president. You're talking about a president that has been in strategic alliance with Iran and Hezbollah. And you have had some kind of strategic arrangement that has made Venezuela available. In the face of sanctions, Iran has practically been supplying oil to Venezuela, and they have been in a very active trade partnership. And this trade has been said by intelligence to be all around narcotics, and this narcotics has been used to fund terror. So you have to look at it from the intelligence point of view and the right for UN to ensure that there's no proxy station just at the borders, just very close to them. There can be an issue while they're talking about intervening in other places, like they just did with the Christmas gifts they gave us in Nigeria. Meanwhile, at their backyard, they have active acts of international sabotage, as it were.
But the operation in U.S., Mr. Okolugbo, was a joint operation with the government of Nigeria. That has been established, that it wasn't the unilateral action by the United States. And with what you have said, should we be bothered that the U.S. is becoming or has become too powerful, perhaps?
As an international relations scholar, I would ordinarily have been bothered. However, as a Nigerian female, right here in Nigeria, with the security issues that we have, the reason for which you have said it yourself, that the Nigerian government agreed and, worked with the United States to ensure that that Christmas gift was well delivered. I will not just be too bothered about the issues of sovereignty. Why? The people that are really talking about sovereignty might bother us. It has to bother us because it has to do with the world order.
All right, so let's take a pause. We have Elder David calling from Alimosho. We'll get back to that conversation, Mr. Okolugbo. Elder David, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, ma.
Good morning, sir. Please, let's have your contribution.
Thank you, ma. Thank you very much, ma. Happy weekend. With due respect to the person talking, I want to talk about the issue of Rivers State. First, we have to thank the president of this country, who have come in actually to make sure that even the other party, that is not a part of his own party, right from 1999, is able to accommodate them. He intervened in the issue of Rivers State. And the problem there is the governor himself. The governor himself is an inexperienced politician. He could have seen the opportunity of the president's intervention to correct things. Wike has not done bad by picking him. When we are talking of divine favor, it comes from God. It's through a human being. Wike sideline people like Senator Abe from Ogoni land that could have been the governor the next turn and pick him. And say, I have no experience. The man they call the governor. And we know what he did in the past. But now he's getting another problem. Why is he doing that? Let me tell you, 27 people are more important than only one person say governor, executive. The executive power is get because of the people. And we can have gone back to those whom he have offended because of that governor, whom he brought at that time. And every local government he goes today is begging them to forgive him because those people work for him, for the governor because of him. And mark it down. Anytime from now, they will remove him. Nothing will happen. Nigeria will never fall.
Elder David, thank you for your contribution. And please let's mention that when you call, turn down and completely turn off, actually, your TV set or whatever you're watching or listening to us from. I know there'll be a lot of comments on the Rivers matter, but then we have actually moved to another issue, which is a global issue. So you were talking earlier, Ms. Okolubu, about the fact that you're not entirely bothered as a Nigerian female resident here and who's aware of what is happening. But yes, you will understand when they say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely, Ms. Okolubu. So for the United States, there's a big question as to which country or which group, which bloc is able to hold, at least to keep them in check. Can China fit in as an ally to Russia, whose might we know has generally been worried or perhaps weakened also by prolonged war in Ukraine?
Yeah, I think the prolonged war in Ukraine, I can hear you very well though, but I'll try and pick what you're saying or hazard an answer. I think the prolonged war in Ukraine definitely has had a toll on Russia. So Russia's dominance is kind of in partnership, is actually defined more with the strategic partnership of China. In some ways, people say that there's a soft kind of fear of China. We've seen the show of force from China several times. The capacity of China is so much, can be so, it's so much that the only option that we will have if China were to bring out its capacity in partnership with Russia, of course, we know that that's annihilation, because you cannot be talking about boots on the ground. You will be talking about hands on the nukes, and we'll be talking about nuclear if we're talking about reactions. And so when they give their warnings and their statements, it's also something that is very major. It points to the fact that there is actually an issue, a breakdown in multilateralism. And that has been an issue that was addressed. We just came out from UNGA. A lot of the nations were talking about the fact that the multilateral relations, the platform of the UN, the arm of the UN has to be strengthened. Why did the US have to take unilateral action? Under normal circumstances, the Security Council has a structure that can intervene in such situations. However, the votes, to do these things have proved to be slow. The machinery for action under the UN has proved to be slow over the years. And that's not without a cost. It's basically during the intervention in Libya, at the end of the intervention in Libya and the issues of economics, land grabbing, and all of that, it became something very difficult to get the veto, the votes from the 5 countries to agree on interventions. It becomes a very difficult process because you find China and Russia will a lot of times exercise restraints, when it comes to the votes or agreeing with the United States.
I hear you, Ms. Okolubu.
Obviously, from what we see, the actions.
We don't seem to have a lot of time left on the program, but there's an important issue I'd like you to address, which is bringing this matter back home. Here in Nigeria, we're talking about review of our constitution. We've had town hall meetings across the different geopolitical zones of the country. So what, for Nigeria now, what lessons can we learn from what is happening on the global stage? And coming back here, talking about the issue of state creation, what can we take home and how much progress would you say we've made so far in achieving and addressing this matter?
Thank you for bringing us back to Nigeria and to state creation. Well, I'm happy to say that I've been privileged to be somebody observing the process of the constitutional, review. And the present National Assembly, the 10th National Assembly, has been on the process of the constitutional review. There's a constitutional review committee. Even the United States is talking about reviewing their constitution to make way for a third tenure for the present president. That shows you that if the United States can be considering that, then you know that over the years, it's very important to review your constitution. Other attempts have failed, but we believe that the political will is there for this present administration, and the 10th Assembly is in a very advanced stage of the review of the Constitution. Now, thank you for talking about the state creation. The state creation is the major thing that has gathered momentum more than anything else with the Constitutional Review Committee. I happened to attend the first review, the Constitutional Review Committee, their retreat in Kano. And in that retreat, the state creation was mentioned, especially in the light of the political need to ensure that there's balance and there's equity in the Southeast. There had been a lot of lobbying, and distinguished Senator Ned had come by way of introducing a state to be created, as at that time it was only the Anioma state that was put up for, that came by way of constitutional review, and it was on the table, and with that, there's been a lot of momentum. There had been so many states that were on the table, and it looked impossible to create any one at all. But somehow, for the first time, the members of the assembly were resolute and together in stating that one state should be created for the Southeast. Then moving forward to the meeting they had in Lagos, they had a second, convening of the Constitutional Review Committee of the National Assembly, which is made up of one senator per state, and then members of the House of Representatives in a combined sitting, which kind of represented the third reading for the bill, as it were, because they came to a point where they committed all of their resolutions to various committees.
Yeah, we're wrapping up, Ms. Sokolugbo. If you could speak things up, if you could wrap up in just about 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, is that, yes, for the first time, state creation is on the table, and we believe that the Southeast at least will get one state, and every other state will get one state each subsequently, in a round that will give every other state one state, and probably put the issue of state creation on the to rest. So by the time the State National Assembly passes it, we'll be glad to have this president to be the first president who will endorse a democratically gotten state by way of constitutional review. Also, there are so many clauses in the Constitution.
Indeed, Ms. Okolugbo. Indeed, so many clauses, and lawmakers have told us they're doing due diligence to attend to all of these issues. We really need to end the conversation here. I've been speaking with Gloria Okolugbo. She is Consultant Communications and International Engagements. Thank you for your time on this morning.
Thank you. 1 hour went so fast. Thank you so much
Indeed.
for having me.
Thank you. Well, that's our conversation. Watch a repeat broadcast at 4 a.m. I am Abosadi Adeniro Aderemi. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.